Hey y'all, it's Shayna. I want to talk to you about boundaries versus walls. Boundaries are created when we are emotionally regulated and when we put into place things that we know are important for us to help us feel safe within a relationship. Walls are created when you are not regulated. So, when you're having a moment of dysregulation, when you're being reactive to a particular person or situation, then you create walls instead of boundaries. And if you create boundaries, you really open yourself up to a meaningful and healthy relationship. You're able to feel safe, and when you feel safe, you can show up fully as yourself. And fully showing up fully present as yourself, being able to feel safe enough to be really authentic, is the only way to have a path toward a really healthy relationship. Walls, on the other hand, keep you guarded. You put up walls to protect yourself in a moment of dysregulation, or you create these walls when you are feeling pain and you create the walls in response. And so when you put up walls, what you're doing is you're deciding that you're not going to be open. You're not going to be vulnerable. You're not going to show people who you really are. You aren't going to be authentic because you don't feel safe in that environment. And when you put up walls, and you don't show up as yourself and you aren't fully present and you aren't authentic because you don't feel safe, then you can't have a full, meaningful relationship. You can have something that's maybe nice, something that you kind of enjoy for a while. You might have something that from the outside looking in looks pretty good, but your relationship will never be fully meaningful and fulfilling if you're operating through walls. So, how do you create boundaries versus walls? You have to work on your emotional regulation. When you are at a place where you are emotionally regulated and you can think through situations and decide what is healthy and safe for me so that I can show up and be my full self, that's when you create the boundaries. So, let me give you an example. Let's say that you are single and that you start to date, and maybe you meet someone and you really like that person. You now have to decide, okay, I'm going to be open and authentic and show that person who I fully am, right? And maybe in order to feel safe enough to do that, maybe you feel like I want to ensure that I'm taking care of myself so I don't end up feeling like I've been used or rejected or hurt in a situation. You might decide, I'm not doing certain physical things with this person until we are at this place in the relationship. That's a boundary that you have set for yourself and that you get to keep. And knowing that you have this boundary, you can show up fully present, be completely authentic, and express the boundary to this person and keep moving forward so that you really get to be present, knowing that you are safe within your boundaries. A wall, on the other hand, is created when you are dysregulated. So let's say that you are single, you start dating, you like someone, they're showing you or telling you that they like you as well, and you are in a situation and that person does something to betray your trust and automatically decide, I'm not doing anything physical with that person because they betrayed my trust. You've created this wall out of a place of reactivity and dysregulation, and you now are not going to show up as yourself. You have now told yourself, I have to put up a wall because I'm not safe here. And so you now are not showing up as yourself. And so your relationship is not able to really grow and flourish. So when you are dysregulated and you put up these walls, you are really cutting yourself off from having a meaningful and healthy relationship. When you are regulated and you create boundaries, you are really opening up yourself to have a meaningful and healthy relationship. And I know some of you might be asking now, well, if someone violates my trust, shouldn't I put up a wall? All right, let's get into our emotional regulation piece. No, you shouldn't put up a wall. What you should do is you should pause. You should go and pause so that you can be emotionally regulated and that you can create proper boundaries, not walls. So, how do we do that, Shayna? Great question. All right. So, let's say you're dating someone, you really like this person, they're giving you signals that they really like you. Maybe the two of you have been together now for some months, half a year, whatever, and then they do something that betrays your trust. And so now it's up to you. You are feeling angry because the trust has been betrayed. You are getting a message to yourself that you're not valuable. This person betrayed me because I'm not valuable, and I have no power here. I can't trust what this person's doing when they go out. I have no control over them. So maybe you're angry. You're getting messages that maybe you're not valuable, you don't matter, messages that you can't control what happens with this person, what they do, and so you don't trust them. And so your instinct is to create a wall, right? So usually when something like this happens, I create a wall. I say, I'm not doing this anymore because you did that thing, right? But here's where we can flip the script. That's your dysregulation. And I'm not saying that your dysregulation has come out of nowhere. Your dysregulation was born of a real situation, a real violation of trust. We're going to take that dysregulation now and we're going to help you to regulate. So you can state your truths. You're feeling devalued. You're feeling like you don't matter. Your truth is that you are valuable, that you do matter. You're feeling like you don't have power, you don't have control, you don't know what this other person's doing when they go out, you cannot trust them. Your truth is you can only control you, but you can always control you. And so, knowing that I am valuable and that I do matter and that I can always control me, you can now come up with alternative behaviors than putting up walls that close you off. Instead, maybe you choose to stay engaged and you just talk to that person about the situation. You let them know, hey, when you did this thing, I really felt like you violated trust. I felt like I had no control in the situation. I felt like I didn't matter and like I was devalued. Hopefully that will open up a dialogue on the other person's end where they engage with you and they ask more questions and they get curious and they figure out, okay, how can we reconcile, because I don't want that to happen again. But you might also open up and say, hey, when this thing happened, I really felt these feelings. I got these messages and I don't want that in a relationship. And that person might say, well, too bad, deal with it. You still have the truth that you can control you. And so now you get to decide, okay, I'm creating a boundary for myself that says I'm not going to engage in a romantic relationship with this person because I'm unable to trust them and feel safe. You didn't react. You didn't create that boundary out of reactivity. You didn't do it in the moment. You weren't heated. You weren't dysregulated. You took a step back. You paused. You regulated yourself. And you took a step and you said, okay, what's healthy for me in this moment? What's healthy for me in this situation? What am I willing to engage in and not willing to engage in? What's healthy for me is to be with someone who respects me. What's healthy for me is to be with someone who, when I come to them with something going on and how I feel, they're willing to engage in a conversation so that we can repair a situation that's happened. What I deserve and what I am willing to accept is a healthy relationship with proper communication, right? And if you've set those boundaries for yourself and this person now is not doing that, you've done your part. You aren't going to now storm out. You aren't creating boundaries, you're not creating walls because you're angry. You've been able to regulate yourself, set your boundaries, and make moves from there. So I hope that was helpful. And I hope that you are able to go forth and set boundaries so that you can really have healthy and meaningful relationships instead of creating walls, which really destroy, tear down, and keep you from having fulfilling relationships. Stay tuned for more tips and tricks, and I'll see you next time.